I stood at the edge of the banquet hall, fully upright, dressed in a custom black suit, yet she looked right through me like I was a stranger. Alicia, my wife, the woman who used to cry herself to sleep beside my hospital bed, now laughing in the arms of another man, clinking champagne flutes under a chandelier I paid for. I hadn't died. I hadn't vanished. I had just been paralyzed, forgotten. And now that I was back on my feet, she pretended not to know who I was. A soft jazz melody played overhead, but I could only hear the blood rushing behind my ears. She glanced toward me once, just once, and when our eyes met, I thought, just for a second, that her smile would falter, that the glass in her hand might shake, that she'd gasp and whisper, "Joseph?" But she only blinked, tilted her head, and turned away. Then she leaned into him, William, her so-called business partner, the same man who had shaken my hand at our wedding and told me I was the luckiest man alive. Someone brushed past me, muttering a low apology. I didn't respond. My hands, clenched into fists by my sides, legs trembling, not from the years of muscle loss, but from something far deeper. I had rehearsed this moment, dreamed of it in the sterile cold of recovery rooms. Imagined Alicia running into my arms, sobbing apologies, realizing that the man she gave up on never stopped fighting for her. But reality was so much colder than my dreams. When the announcer called her name, she took the mic like a queen. "Ladies and gentlemen," Alicia began, her voice clear and proud, "thank you for supporting me and William in the launch of our newest charity initiative for spinal injury survivors." The irony sliced through me like glass. The crowd applauded. I stood frozen. She was using my suffering as a brand, selling sympathy for a life she walked away from, pretending like I had never existed, but I had returned. Walking, breathing, burning with every ounce of pain she'd ever left behind. I didn't come here to make a scene. I came here to see if she remembered. She didn't. She used to hum when she thought I was asleep. Soft, wordless tunes that wrapped around the edge of silence in our bedroom. That's how I first fell in love with Alicia. Not her looks, not her charm, not even the way she spoke, but the sound of her when she believed no one was listening. It made me believe she was someone gentle, someone safe. Before the accident, we lived in a warm apartment with white curtains and mismatched mugs. She didn't care about luxury then. We used to dance barefoot in the kitchen. I'd cook and burn half the meal, and she'd laugh and call it romantic. Alicia would wear one of my shirts and steal the last of the coffee creamer just to watch me pout. We weren't rich, but we were stupidly in love. Or at least I was. I proposed after a thunderstorm. She didn't like big crowds, so I lit candles all over the apartment and dropped to one knee with shaking hands. She cried before I even said anything, wrapped her arms around my neck and whispered, "I thought you'd never ask." I didn't know then that the day she walked down the aisle would be the beginning of her walking away. The car hit me on a Monday morning. I was crossing the street with takeout in one hand and Alicia's favorite cinnamon bun in the other. A delivery truck lost its brakes. My legs took the worst of it. I remember the crunching sound more than the pain. Then the hospital lights, the machines, and her hand in mine. For the first few weeks, she never left my side. She slept in the chair, by my bed, brought books she never finished reading aloud. She promised we'd get through it. "Even if you never walk again," she said once, "you'll still be mine." But words don't feed patience. They don't hold up under the weight of time. After 3 months, she stopped reading. After 6, the kisses on my forehead grew fewer. By the end of the first year, she'd started wearing makeup again. Not for me, but for whatever world she was slowly stepping back into. She said she was tired, that the doctors gave no hope, that maybe I would understand one day. I heard her crying in the hallway once, talking to someone on the phone. Her voice shook, but the words didn't. "I don't know who I am anymore," she told them. "He just stares at the ceiling. I feel like I'm already a widow." She didn't know I could still hear everything. My ears were never damaged. She stopped touching me, stopped calling me love. The woman who once said she'd marry me 1,000 times over now couldn't sit in a room with me for more than 5 minutes without checking the time. Then came the day she didn't come at all. The nurse said she was overwhelmed, that caregivers sometimes collapse under the emotional pressure. I defended her. I told them she needed rest. But weeks passed, then months. She didn't visit once. Not for my birthday, not for the anniversary, not for the holidays. I lay there in silence, counting ceiling tiles, retracing memories of her lips, the way she laughed, the shape of her handwriting. I remembered how she once said she'd never leave me, not unless I asked her to, but I never asked. And still, she left. There was only one person who stayed. Donna. She was just a volunteer at first. Her job was to check vitals, tidy the place up, maybe read to the long-term patients when they had no one else. But Donna had this quiet way of seeing people, not just their condition, but the person still trapped inside it. She talked to me, even when I couldn't answer. Sometimes she'd hum too. Never the same songs Alicia did, but soft ones, gentle ones. Songs that didn't expect a response. She never asked me to try harder. Never looked at me with that exhausted pity Alicia used to carry in her eyes. With Donna, silence wasn't something to be fixed. It was something to be shared. After a year and 9 months, something shifted. A new treatment trial. A surgeon, willing to take a risk. My nerves had begun firing again. I could feel my toes, then my knees. The pain was unbearable, but I welcomed it like an old friend. It meant I was coming back. Slowly, I started to move. Months of therapy, grit, rage, hope. And one morning I stood up. Donna cried harder than I did. I didn't tell Alicia. I didn't call her. I didn't write. I wanted to see what she would do with my absence. Whether she'd come back if she thought I still needed her. Whether any part of her love had survived the rot. She didn't come. But Donna stayed. She took me to every session, cooked meals, brought flowers. She even laughed the first time I fell in therapy, then apologized profusely while helping me up. I realized then, what I thought I'd had with Alicia was love. But what Donna gave me was devotion. I never told Donna about Alicia. She knew, of course. Everyone did. Alicia had become a rising figure in the philanthropic world, a beautiful widow with a tragic past, raising money for spinal recovery centers while spinning tales about the man she once loved. She told stories about me, edited ones where she was the hero. And now, 2 years after being forgotten, I stood on my own 2 legs inside the banquet hall she organized. Donna helped me tie my tie that morning and smiled like she already knew how this would end. I just want to see her reaction, I told Donna. She looked at me with quiet sadness and said, "Whatever happens, Joseph, just remember who stayed." But Alicia never reacted, not even a flicker, not even a whisper of my name. She looked right through me and smiled at William instead. I stood there, surrounded by the sound of wine glasses clinking and soft violins playing beneath elegant chatter, but all I could see was her, Alicia, gently brushing invisible lint off William's shoulder. Her fingers lingered a second too long. Her lips curled up at something he whispered. 2 years ago, those were my shoulders. That was my smile. And yet, tonight, she treated me like I was a stranger interrupting a story she'd already rewritten, without me. I started walking toward her. My legs still shook sometimes, a subtle tremor I masked with slow, steady steps. I didn't want to make a scene. I just needed to know. Did she really erase me? Or was this some elaborate game? Maybe she had seen me and froze. Maybe the moment I was close enough, she'd turn, throw her arms around me, fall apart and cry like I'd imagined 100 times. But when I was only a few steps away, she tilted her head and locked eyes with me. Something in her expression shifted, but it wasn't shock. It was polite confusion, the kind a hostess gives a face she doesn't recognize at a party she curated. "Hello," she said, her voice warm and distant. "Are you one of William's friends?" The breath caught in my throat. I searched her eyes for something, anything, that said she was pretending, that she was playing it safe, that there were too many people around. But all I saw was calm. I smiled bitterly. "No, I'm your husband." Alicia blinked. Then she laughed, a soft, awkward sound. "I'm sorry. I think you must be mistaken." Mistaken. The words sank like ice water in my veins. Behind her, William turned to glance at me, clearly annoyed that someone was disturbing their moment. "I'm Joseph," I said. "We were married for 5 years. You stood by my hospital bed when I was in a coma. You kissed my forehead every morning until 1 day. You stopped showing up." Her smile faltered, but she didn't drop the act. "I think you've confused me with someone else." I wasn't prepared for that, not even after everything I'd endured. She could have screamed at me. She could have slapped me. But denial? Like I was a ghost she had to keep buried? William stepped forward, placing himself between us. "Sir, I think you've had too much to drink. Maybe it's best you leave." I didn't move. "Does he know? Alicia, does he know you used my story to build this entire empire of pity?" "Security," she said, not even looking at me now. "Please escort this man out." 2 guards appeared at the edge of my vision, but they hesitated. I wasn't making a scene. Not yet, just standing, speaking. Still, they moved in closer. I could have fought them. I could have shouted, "She's lying!" But I didn't. I turned away. Not because I accepted her rejection, but because I knew what she was doing. She didn't want to be exposed, not here, not yet. She needed the illusion, the beautiful widow. The grieving woman who built an empire out of love lost. Back in the parking lot, the air was sharp with the kind of winter chill that seeped into your bones. I leaned against a lamppost, letting the cold bite me. That's where Donna found me. She had waited in the car, not because she was weak, but because she trusted me to face what I needed to. Her coat was too thin for the weather, but she didn't complain. She wrapped her arms around my back and pressed her forehead to my chest. "So," she said softly, "she pretended not to know you." I nodded. "She looked me in the eye, Donna, and told me I was mistaken." Donna didn't say, "I told you, so." She didn't offer sympathy or rage. She just stood there, holding me until I could breathe again. But as I stared out across the street, I realized something else, something I hadn't noticed while I was inside. The entire event was being streamed. There were cameras in every corner, news outlets, social platforms. And someone would recognize me. Someone would remember my face. Her lie wouldn't hold for long. Still, the pain of it twisted inside me. I didn't know what hurt more, her silence during those 2 years or this cold, deliberate rejection now. She didn't just forget me. She buried me, replaced me, reinvented herself without the slightest trace of guilt. Or maybe she did feel guilt, but not the kind that stops you, the kind you learn to live with, the kind that turns into excuses. "She'll regret it," Donna whispered. I wasn't sure. Wasn't sure if people like Alicia regretted things, or if they just rewrote the ending and convinced themselves it was always meant to be that way. But I knew one thing. This wasn't over. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't want to. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face again. Not the version that used to press kisses to my forehead or whisper that I was her entire world. I saw the one from tonight, polished, unreadable, a woman who could look the man she married straight in the face and say, "I think you're mistaken." I lay on the couch in Donna's apartment, staring at the ceiling like I had in the hospital for 2 long years. The shadows shifted in the dark, dancing like ghosts across the walls. Every breath I took was a reminder. I had survived. My body had come back from a place most men don't return from. But my heart, it had walked into a room and found out it was already dead. Donna made tea in the kitchen. She didn't talk unless I did. That's something I'd come to love. About her. She never filled silence with empty words, never tried to fix what wasn't hers to fix. She meant it, didn't she? I finally asked. Donna paused at the counter, her back to me. Yes, she said after a while. She meant it. That truth stung worse than any lie could have. I pushed myself up, knees aching, chest hollow. I walked to the window, gripping, the frame so hard my knuckles turned white. Outside, the city lights shimmered with a kind of cruel indifference. People were living, laughing, making promises they might never keep. And somewhere out there, Alicia was probably still smiling, still convincing herself she was the victim in her own story. I wasn't just mourning a marriage, I was mourning the version of her I thought was real. All those nights I begged my broken body to respond. It wasn't just to stand again. It was to return to her. To be worthy of the life we once dreamed about in the glow of kitchen lights and the scent of burnt toast. And now I realized I was crawling toward a memory that no longer existed. "Do you hate her?" Donna asked, her voice soft. I didn't answer right away. Hate was too simple. It burned hot, then burned out. What I felt was deeper, colder, like a hole had been carved out of me and filled with cement. "I don't think I even know who she is," I said. And maybe I never did. Donna brought me tea and sat across from me. She looked tired. I realized she hadn't slept either. "You don't have to pretend you're okay," she said. "Not with me." And I wasn't. I wasn't okay. I was shattered in ways no surgery could fix. But there was something about hearing her say it. Say that I didn't have to be strong all the time. That let something crack. Why wasn't I enough? I whispered, my voice barely audible. I gave her everything. I would have died for her. You did, Donna said quietly. You gave her the living version of your death. 2 years lying there, alone. I nodded, throat tight. She didn't want the broken version of me, I said. She wanted the man who could carry groceries and plan vacations and lift her off the ground in the middle of a storm. She wanted a man who never needed her, Donna replied. That's not love, Joseph. That's convenience. I turned, back to the window. She's going to keep pretending I don't exist. Then let her. I looked at Donna. There was steel in her eyes. Not coldness, just clarity. She erased you from her story, she said. So write your own. Make one so powerful that when people say her name, they say yours louder. I sat back down, the tea warm between my hands, but my heart colder than ever. I don't want revenge, I said. I know, Donna whispered, but you want truth. And maybe you deserve to be seen again. That was it, wasn't it? I didn't want to ruin Alicia. I didn't want to scream, to humiliate her in front of cameras. I just wanted someone, anyone, to say, I remember him. He was real. He mattered. I finished the tea, the silence heavy but no longer suffocating. Somewhere deep inside, something had shifted. I wasn't ready to forgive her, but I was done, hiding. 2 days later, it happened. I was at a small cafe downtown, the kind with steamed windows and crooked lamps, waiting for Donna to finish a call when my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost ignored it, until I saw the message. You should see this. She knows. Attached was a video. A single clip. No context. No name. I tapped it open. It was taken from someone's phone at Alicia's charity gala. The same night I stood face to face with her and she pretended not to know me. The video didn't catch everything, just the moment right after I turned and walked away. It was shaky, probably accidental. But in the background, barely audible under the soft music, you could hear William lean toward her and whisper, "Are you okay? You looked like you'd seen a ghost." Alicia didn't answer, but her face, she wasn't confused. She wasn't indifferent. She looked shaken. Her fingers gripped the edge of the champagne glass like it was the only thing anchoring her to the floor. And then, barely audible, she whispered, "It can't be. He was supposed to die." I stared at the screen. Rewound it, played it again, and again. Supposed to die. That one sentence cracked everything wide open. Donna returned, coffee in hand. "What is it?" she asked, seeing my face. I handed her the phone. She watched it once, then once more, slower. And when her eyes met mine, there was no trace of surprise, only something grim and quiet. "You think she knew?" I asked. "Knew I was alive? Knew I was recovering? And still—" "No," Donna said. "It's worse." She set the coffee down slowly. "She thought you were supposed to die." I stood up, heart pounding. "Then who told her that? The hospital? Someone in my family?" Donna's jaw clenched. "Or maybe William." The name landed with a weight I hadn't expected. Of course. William, the business partner, the man who stood beside her that night with a possessiveness no business partner had a right to. He had access, influence, and a reason to want me gone. "She moved on too quickly," I said, voice shaking. "That's what always bothered me. I was gone, 6 months before she disappeared completely. And now she's not just with someone else, she's thriving. Like I was a mistake she scrubbed from her life." Donna nodded, eyes narrowed. "She didn't just scrub you out, Joseph. She covered her tracks." The realization spread through me like fire. What if Alicia hadn't simply left me? What if someone had made her believe I wouldn't wake up, and she'd accepted that, even welcomed it? What if my silence wasn't just absence, it was used against me? I sat back down, stunned. She built an empire on my suffering, but now I wonder if she helped pave the way for it. Donna reached out, steadying my trembling hand. "Whatever the truth is, Joseph, you deserve to know it, all of it." I looked at the screen one last time, her face, her words. He was supposed to die. No more silence, no more shadows. This wasn't just betrayal, it was conspiracy. And now it was personal. It was the annual investor conference, Alicia's biggest event of the year. She was set to unveil a multi-million-dollar project tied to her company's new mental health initiative, the one she claimed had been inspired by her late husband's tragic story. Her team had leaked teasers, exclusive interviews, and portraits of her sitting by a hospital bed with carefully blurred photos, ones that I now knew were me. I watched it all unfold from the wings of the auditorium, press badge hanging from my neck, Donna standing quietly behind me. I hadn't said much since watching that video, but my silence wasn't numbness anymore. It was control. Cold, steady control. "Are you sure about this?" Donna whispered. "I'm not here for revenge," I replied. "Just the truth." She didn't press me again. She didn't have to. She understood that some truths don't scream. They walk into a room and wait for the world to adjust. When Alicia stepped onto the stage, the room applauded. She looked radiant in ivory silk, every strand of hair perfectly pinned, her voice gentle as she began her speech about trauma, grief, and resilience. And as always, she invoked me, Joseph, the loving husband who fought until the end, the man whose story, she claimed, gave her strength. "I learned," she said, voice trembling for the camera, "that sometimes we lose those we love, but their memory gives us purpose. Joseph was my purpose. He still is." I stepped onto the
stage. At first, no one noticed. She didn't see me until I crossed into the spotlight, and when she did, her entire body froze. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, letting the silence build. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some recognized
me from the leaked hospital video that had been circulating, me, the husband who was supposed to be dead. Others simply sensed something seismic had shifted. Alicia tried to gather herself. "Excuse me," she said into the mic, her voice cracking slightly. "This is not planned." I stepped closer. "But it's real. Isn't it, Alicia?" Her eyes widened. Not with shock this time, with fear. I turned to the crowd, keeping my voice calm. "My name is Joseph. I was Alicia's husband. The man she said died. The man, she said, gave her a reason to keep going. Murmurs turned into gasps. For 2 years, I continued, I was paralyzed, in a coma, fighting to come back. And when I woke up, I found out I had already been replaced, not just in her heart, but in the public eye. My name became a brand, my suffering, a slogan. And my wife, the woman who once told me she'd wait for me forever, acted like she'd never seen me before. Alicia took a step toward me, her voice strained. Joseph, please. This isn't the time. No, I cut in, louder now. It was never the time for you, was it? Not when I needed you. Not when I begged for your letters, your voice, your visits. You stopped showing up, Alicia. But you kept using me. You told the world I died. You cashed in on my pain. Her eyes shimmered now, but not with grief, with panic. I looked down at the podium and saw her speech notes. On the last page, a quote in bold. Grief carves us into something greater. Beneath it, my name. Did you ever grieve me? I asked quietly, turning back to her. Or did you just profit off me? Her hands trembled at her sides. Say something, I said. To me. To them. Say you remember me. Say I mattered. The silence was a canyon. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Then from the back of the room, someone shouted, That's him! That's the man from the leaked footage. And then another voice. She said he died years ago! The press surged forward. Cameras clicked. Phones went up. Alicia backed away, shielding her face. I didn't move. I'm not here to destroy her, I said. But I won't let her erase me either. I was real. I am real. And I deserve to be more than a chapter she rewrote without asking. Alicia finally found her voice. Joseph, please, she whispered. I thought you were gone. They told me. The hospital said you wouldn't make it. I couldn't survive just waiting. You didn't wait. You celebrated. Tears finally spilled from her eyes. It hurt. Every day hurt. Then why did you look at me like I was a stranger? I asked. Why did you pretend? Why lie? She shook her head, defeated. Because I built a life on your ghost. I didn't know how to face you alive. There it was. The truth. She had mourned me. Maybe. But once she chose to live without me, she couldn't risk letting me return. I wasn't part of the version of herself she'd crafted. Her empire had no room for a man still breathing. I took a deep breath, then turned back to the crowd. I'm not asking for sympathy, just truth. And now you've heard it. You decide what comes next. I walked off stage before anyone could stop me. Donna was already waiting in the wings, her jaw tight, eyes glistening. You did it, she said. No, I replied. I just said what needed to be said. As we stepped outside, the cool air hit me like a cleansing wind. Behind me, I could still hear the stir of voices, the chaos erupting on the live stream. Alicia's world was crumbling, but mine had just begun. 3 days passed. The video of the confrontation went viral within hours. News channels replayed it on loop. Talk shows dissected every word. Forums exploded with hashtags. Joseph Lives. The ghost returned. Alicia exposed. Her empire didn't collapse overnight, but the cracks were visible. Sponsors pulled back. The board demanded explanations. Her so-called mental health initiative was suspended pending a full review. The company's stock dropped. Alicia didn't speak publicly, but I knew silence was her last shield. That morning, I got an envelope slipped under Donna's apartment door. No return. Address, just my name. Inside was a single page, a check for $10 million and a note. For the past, please leave the rest alone. A. I stared at it for a long time. Then I set it on fire. Money can't undo murder, I whispered, because that's what it was. Slow murder. Not of my body, but of my identity, my dignity, my worth. I had watched from the shadows as she wrote me into her fairy tale, playing the grieving widow while hiding the man she once vowed to die beside. She didn't expect me to live, and when I did, she acted like death would have been more convenient. But now, my story was louder. I stood by the window and watched the flame consume the paper, watched it curl into ashes and flutter into nothing. That's what her offer was, nothing, just like her promises. Still want revenge? Donna asked quietly. I shook my head. I want justice. That evening, I returned to my old apartment, the one I owned before the accident. Dust covered every surface. The couch where I had kissed Alicia for the first time was gone. The walls were bare. But in the bedroom closet, tucked behind old coats, was a box she never found. Inside it were the flash drives, backups of my journals, emails, audio messages I used to record when my hands hurt too much to type, and hospital documents, including one that made me pause. It was a transfer order, dated 6 months after my coma began, signed by Alicia. Patient Joseph Langley to be moved to long-term palliative care. No resuscitation measures if condition. Declines. No code blue. No life support. No hope. Just death. Quiet and clinical. She had tried to bury me legally long before I woke up, and that changed everything. Donna and I compiled it all. My recovery timeline, medical records, footage. From the charity gala, even voice memos from nurses who remembered Alicia telling them not to give false hope to a lost case. We packaged it into a file, and then I sent it to every media outlet that had ever praised her. But the final nail was the interview, a national broadcast, prime time. They offered it to me after the confrontation video broke 1 million views. I walked into the studio alone. No suit, no script. Just the truth. I looked straight into the camera as the anchor asked, Joseph, if you could say one thing to Alicia right now, what would it be? I didn't hesitate. I forgive you. A beat passed. Shock flickered across the anchor's face. But forgiveness doesn't mean I forget, or that you go unpunished. Forgiveness just means I no longer carry your sins. You do. And now, so does the world. I leaned forward. You turned my life into a brand. You told the world you mourned me while filing papers to quietly let me die. You loved the idea of me. But the moment I became inconvenient, you rewrote the story. But I'm done being a ghost in your narrative. You don't get to speak for me anymore. The interview aired that night. The next morning, Alicia's company issued a statement. She had resigned. By evening, she deactivated all her social accounts. She disappeared from headlines, but not from whispers. She couldn't walk into a room now without feeling the weight of every lie she told. But that wasn't the end. Because I still had one. More move to make. I bought back my apartment, refurnished it, reclaimed it. And then I painted the door with a fresh coat of white, the same shade Alicia always hated. Said it felt too cold. But cold is honest. Cold never pretends. On the first day of summer, I held a small art gallery event with Donna's help. She had framed some of my old sketches, the ones I used to draw during recovery. The crowd wasn't huge, but it didn't need to be, because someone unexpected came. William. Dressed in black, sunglasses on indoors. The air around him reeked of nervous sweat. I didn't move. He did. Joseph, he said, voice tight. I didn't know you'd be here. I gave him a long look. You knew, he shifted. I only did what Alicia... She signed the papers, I cut in. But you whispered the doubts, you fed the fears, and now? I handed him a small envelope. He looked inside. Inside was a USB. What's this? He asked. Proof, I said. Emails, texts, transaction logs. The medical board already has them. But I thought I'd let you see your future before it airs on news at 6. His face drained of color. You can't... I already did. He tried to speak again, but I turned away. He left without another word. Weeks passed, then months. William was disbarred from practicing law. Alicia was banned from directing any nonprofit organization tied to public funding. The hospital that signed off on my palliative transfer? Fined, investigated, restructured. And me? I started walking again, really walking. Parks, sidewalks, galleries, with Donna beside me. The night I stood at my father's grave, I left one final letter, unsigned. I thought being paralyzed was the worst thing that could happen. But losing my name, my truth, myself, that was worse. Now I've taken it back. And the woman who once told the world I was dead will live every day knowing I lived without her. As I turned to leave, Donna slipped her hand into mine. "You did it," she whispered. I looked up at the stars. No, I just stopped letting them write my ending. Because revenge isn't always blood or fire. Sometimes it's truth, spoken loud enough that even silence has to answer. And in the end, that was the ultimate revenge. I lived, I survived, and I made sure they remembered.